There are many ways to fall from grace and to go astray. We should realize that in our lives we can make a change for brighter days.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. This is your presenter, Dr. Mamdouh Nuruddin Muhammad. Is greeting you and greeting everybody by saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Peace be unto all of you. Welcome to this program about two options. And today we are going to take a new episode in that. It's a continuation of the same theme, and the purpose of this theme is mainly to tell every human being that in this life, you will not pass this life successfully to access paradise unless you confront and you face many tests. And all the time we will find in these tests two options. Option number one, which is a decree and a command from Almighty Allah, and your role is to obey what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. And option number two, which is to disobey Allah and to take the other path. Remember that this one takes you and leads you and gives you access to paradise when you obey Almighty Allah. And this option two, all the time takes you away from the right path, and it leads you, wal-'iyadhu billahi, to hellfire. The two options. Now the example that we will talk about it today is Ibrahim alayhi salam, the forefathers of the prophets, as it is known. And you know that we mentioned many tests that he had passed. And this is another test when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him to slaughter his son, his most beloved son, Ismail alayhi salam. You can see this option. Just try to imagine if you are in this situation and Allah commanded you to do such a thing. First of all, I'd like to tell you that here Ibrahim alayhi salam saw this command in his dream. And you have to differentiate. We Muslims do differentiate between the dreams of messengers of Allah, the dreams of the prophets of Allah, and the dreams of human beings. So I hope you focus on this. Don't tell me that you've seen in your dream you are taking the money of your neighbor, so you go tomorrow and steal the money of your neighbor, and you say that I have seen this in my dream. Or you see in your dream that you are stealing your husband or your spouse, and you go and do this because you've seen this in your dream. Of course, this is falsehood. We know that only prophets of Allah and messengers of Allah, their dreams are nothing but the truth. So this is the main difference. Now, here Ibrahim alayhi salam is in this situation, confronting this critical situation after long years without getting any child. He got the child, he loved the child started to grow up and started to help his father, and he became so dear to his father. And now the test is slaughter your most beloved son. Go ahead and slaughter him. Now, Ibrahim alayhi salam could have taken or try to find excuses and to take the other option number two. And in this option number two, he would say, find an excuse. Perhaps I was not sure whether it was a dream or not. I didn't say to anybody. Nobody else knew about this except me. So I can conceal it and hide it. He can find many excuses in order not to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what a lot of people are doing now. If there is no camera is watching them, they would say that nobody saw me. And I know that Allah forgives, so I may do this, and I hope that Allah will forgive me. Ibrahim could have done this. By the way, lots of people, we see them every day, they do this. When they don't see a policeman in the street, they violate the traffic. When they don't see anybody is observing them, they do this. However, Ibrahim alayhi salam knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala observes him and knows that Allah knows that this is a true dream, and knows that even what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows deeper than this, note that the shaitan whispers to him. So this was the situation. However, a lot of us would take the easy way and would say that, okay, I'm going to try to play around this to find a way out of this because it's so dear. Or somebody else would say that it's impossible that Allah would command me to do this. However, Ibrahim alayhi salam, as we've learned from him throughout his whole history, that all the time he used to use his intellect and brain correctly. He didn't ask these questions, and he said that this dream is from Almighty Allah, and I know that Allah commanded me to do this. And this is against my desire, and this is against my love, and this is against what I need, what I have been waiting for a long time. I know all that, but I know that Allah asked me to do it for a wisdom. It is difficult on my heart, and my heart is grieving. However, I will take option number one. I know it's a command from Almighty Allah, and I have submitted myself to Allah, and I have promised Almighty Allah that I will obey every command, whether I like it or I don't like it, whether it's against my will or it's not against my will, whether it's against my desire or not against my desire. I am a Muslim. And this is the essence of being a Muslim, is submission and surrender. And once your brain and your intellect submits to the command of Allah, every organ in your body submits to Almighty Allah. Your tongue, your eyes, your hands, your emotions, your feelings, everything in you submit when your brain and your intellect submits. Ibrahim alayhi salam submitted his intellect to Almighty Allah, submitted on the day when he said La ilaha illallah, and he understood the implications of these words that are said, La ilaha illallah. It sounds beautiful, it sounds easy, but when you try to apply it in your life, it is so difficult. Brothers and sisters, I would like you all the time to think of these stories, to live with them. And you, because you will come across similar scenarios or similar tests, but in different forms. It's not necessarily that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would ask you to do this particular thing, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already asked you, commanded you to keep away from things and to do other things. And here He is watching you and observing you, and His angels are recording everything upon you, whether you will fall into the trap of option 2, the trap of the Satan that whispers to you here, and in different forms that you try to find justifications. You try to follow the people and say that, oh, all the people do that. I have never seen someone is doing this, but Allah gave you this particular test. This is not a question that a Muslim should raise at all in his life or in her life. Rather that it's only thing that we do as Muslims is that we focus on the source of the test. Is this from Almighty Allah? And if the answer is yes, it is, so the only option that we are left with as Muslims, as humans, we have two options. The option B or option 2 and option 1. But as Muslims, we know that the only thing that we are allowed to accept, because this is the only thing that's accepted by Almighty Allah, is option 1, because it is divine and it came from Almighty Allah, and I have to submit and accept it. Again, this will be one example, and in the coming episodes, I'm going to continue giving other examples so that we would understand the concept and we would live the concept, and we would apply it in our life on continuous basis until it becomes part of our DNA and it becomes part of our blood. So submission would be very easy for us. And we are not going to do this because we are very intelligent. No, we are doing this because Allah gives us support to continue worshiping Him and to continue obeying Him. And that's why all the time we remember that we say this in our daily prayers. That's إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. You alone we worship, and you alone we seek help and support from. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us support to continue our worship, and to give us support to continue being able to follow option number one that comes from Him and from His decrees, and it's illustrated in the Quran and explained in the Sunnah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us support to be of the followers of option one all the time. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Mamdouh Nuruddin Muhammad.
In this world today, there are many ways to fall from grace and to go astray. We should realize that in our lives we can make a change for brighter days.
Mahatma Gandhi, speaking on the character